A good Erev Shabbos, Chaim, and everyone else. Baruch Hashem, it is finally, we're up to those Parshios that start talking about the exciting descent of Yosef down to Mitzrayim. I was telling my class that my son, Yosef Tavia, so he's all of 4 years old, and last night my wife was teaching him about the Parsha, and he knew the whole Parsha. Everything in the Parsha. He knew about the story of Yosef, he knew about the fight with the brothers, and goes down to Mitzrayim, but the problem is that everything he said, his name is Yosef. So he said, and I went down to Mitzrayim, and I went over here, and I went over there. He identified totally with the character of Yosef. It probably helps, as I mentioned in the Shmuz before, it probably helps that we always call him Yosef HaTzadik. So he probably thought they were talking about him, because Yosef is a big tzaddik. It's a strange parsha, it's a difficult parsha. The great difficulties that people have is when you learn about this parsha to imagine that the Gedolei Hador, the Shvatim, Yaakov Avinu, these people were fighting with each other as if we're talking about kids between the age of 5 and 15. Yosef was of the youngest of the brothers. At the beginning, he was 17 years old. We're talking about everyone else is much older than him. Almost everyone is much older than him. You have adults seeming to be having fights that a child shouldn't have. A child shouldn't even have. Right? I don't remember the last time my two kids got into a fight, ever, of course, but I certainly don't remember my two kids getting into a fight and one saying to the other, you know what, if you do it one more time, I'm going to either A, kill you, B, put you in a pit, or C, sell you. That hasn't happened yet. That hasn't happened. I do not necessarily look forward to the day that happens. I mean, we all have she'ifas. The Gemara says, Mosa Yagio Masel Mase Avoisai, that when will I be able to achieve the level of the Avos? If my son ever uses that line on me, by the way, that he wants to sell his brother because Mosa Yagio Masel Mase Avoisai, I will definitely, on the spot, I will give him $1,000. Believe me, he better not ever listen to the shmooze. But it's an incredible parsha. And that is perhaps, for the people who really spend time learning in depth this week's parsha, that is perhaps not even the strangest of the episodes of this week's parsha. There are events in this week's parsha which trouble the mind historically for thousands of years to be able to understand what is pshat, simple understanding of these episodes, these stories in the Torah, which are meant to educate us forever historically. How are we meant to approach these things? It's very difficult. And it's time for us to no longer be the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders that we once were and learn the Parsha as 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. And to be able to develop, to learn the Parsha as a 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grader. To be able to learn it as your age expects you to be learning. It's an entirely different Parsha. Imagine yourself, like my joke in the beginning, of my son Yosef at 4 years old, imagining he is the Yosef of all the stories. But you need to imagine yourself in those shoes if you can. To just try to picture it. What could this possibly mean? What are the arguments about? What are the brothers talking about? And in a certain sense, we need to be able to take it down to our level. I wasn't going to speak about this in the shmooze, but I think it's something we spoke about in class, which I find to be very, very powerful, and I just want to share it with everybody here. In this week's parsha, the parsha starts off by talking about Yosef and his brothers, as we said, and it also says that Yosef saw, according to Rashi, Yosef saw the brothers, the children of Bilhah and Zilpah, the children of the maidservants. Yosef saw that they were being insulted, they were being disgraced, they were being put down. They were being called the Bnei HaShefachos, the children of the maidservants. And Rashi says something very powerful. Rashi says that Yosef, V'hu nar es Bnei Bilhah, and he was a child with the Bnei Bilhah. How do you even read this? He was a child of the Bnei Bilhah. Yosef obviously was not. He was a child of Rachel. And yet it says he was a child, nar es Bnei Bilhah, es Bnei Zilpah, with the children of Bilhah and the children of Zilpah. What does that mean? So Rashi says, Kloimar, what this means to say, V'rogil eitzel b'nei Bilha. He would accustom himself to spend a lot of time with the children of Bilha, lefi shahayu echav mevazin, I say, because the other children, the children of Leah, would insult and disgrace the children of Bilha and Zilpah. V'hu mikarvan, and he would bring them close. I asked a very simple question. If you were to see somebody who was being insulted, being embarrassed, being put down, and you wanted to do the right thing, you wanted to fix how this guy feels, how this kid feels, what would you do? If it was me and I saw somebody in front of me and they're getting insulted terribly, I think I would, and I was proactive, I would hope I would be proactive about it, I think I would go over and say, this so-and-so just said about you that you're ugly, you're slow, you're bad at something. You're not, you're amazing. You have so many great qualities. You have this quality, you have that quality, and you're the best guy. I would try to show honor to replace his disgrace. I would try to mechabed him. And yet Rashi doesn't say that. Rashi says, "Lefisha you echav mevazen," I say. Since the brothers disgraced, it doesn't say v'hu mechabedon, that he honored them. It says v'hu mekarvon. He brought them close. He said, "I want to be close to you. I want to be your friend. I want to spend time with you. I want to be there for you." That was Yosef's solution to a person who is being dishonored, disgraced, and insulted. I want to be your friend. You think about it. And we thought about this in class, and we tried to really get down to perhaps what Rashi is telling us. When we thought about it, we thought perhaps when a person is insulted, and he really gets insulted, anyone can really be insulted, no matter how secure you are and how good you feel about yourself. Sometimes the insult it goes right in. And a person is insulted, what does he start to feel? He starts to feel, I don't deserve to be around people anymore. I'm not as good as everyone. I'm not one of them. I start to feel distance from other people. And I push myself away because if they can insult me like that in a way that really, really hurts me, that means that I must be less, I must not be one of the group. It's not just I'm insulted, my honor-meter has gone down, and now I need to do is I need a boost to push that back up. No. I have been insulted to the point where I feel like I'm not part of the community anymore. And Yosef came along, and Yosef said, I want to be your friend. I want to be close to you. I put my arm over your shoulder, and I say, let's learn together. Can I be your chavrusa? I want to be together with you because I know deep down, I can tell what you're missing is that sense of communal self-respect to be part of the other people. It's the depth of a Rashi. Rashi is telling us that in just 2 words. V'hu mekarvan. Not v'hu mechabdon, not he shows them honor. V'hu mekarvan. I'm going to bring you close. In a yeshiva setting, certainly, a person should find the opportunities. A person, not in this yeshiva, but if a person in another yeshiva would see somebody being insulted or put down, or he's walking around the hallways and he's down in the dumps, and you know that the reason he's down in the dumps is because maybe somebody's not treating him right, because this week when he got his haircut on one side was shorter than the other side. And my father, he once went to the barber, and the barber gave him a haircut, and unfortunately the guy, he cut his pays right off. So the barber says, I'll even it out. My father said, you can't even it out. You cut off one finger, you're going to cut off all the rest of my fingers. No, not thank you very much. So he came to shul, on Erev Shabbos, he got that. He came to shul, 1 payah, 1 not. Now, if a person sees that, a person may make a giggle, might laugh about it. Maybe perhaps someone's going to put that down. And you have the opportunity to put your arm over the shoulder. Don't even talk about it. I'm your friend. I'm here. Hey, can I spend some time with you? I'm here to take care of you. Yeah, I will tell you a different story. One time, my father on Erev Shabbos was also used to shave right when he was going to shul. So he was shaving. He was sitting in the car, driving one hand, shaving with the other hand, and with his third hand, he was making his tie on the way to shul. Probably got a call on the way, so he was also answering the radio. But I remember once, he was shaving right on Erev Shabbos, and as you can hardly imagine, the shaver died after he shaved one side. And my father, his hair grew very, very quickly. So if he shaved in the morning, by the time the afternoon came along, he already had a thick 5 o'clock shadow, and it was it. But what are you gonna do? Shabbos is here. He went into shul like that, and he survived. A person sometimes thinks, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so embarrassed. I can't. I don't even want to show my face. It's not really the point of what I'm saying here. But if somebody does feel like that, but you can go over to him and say to him, not just to mechabed him, it's not enough. I want to be your friend. I am here to take care of you. I'm here to take care of you. When we're talking about what the proper thing to say is, this week's Parsha, if you have time, take out a Chumash, even with an English translation, and look at how many times it says, and he said, and he said, and he told over, and he said, and he used to say, and they told him. There's so much talking. It's just a blah, blah, blah. It's like the shmooze. It just never ends. The conversation just keeps on going and going and going. There's so much talking. And so many of the stories in the Parsha are because somebody said something. The brothers got angry at Yosef because Yosef used to say things about them. He was Moitzi Diba Aleim. He used to say negative things about them. Of course, he meant it constructively, but he would say things. When the Yosef goes down to Mitzrayim and he's in prison with the Sarah Mashkim and the Sarah Oifim, he is able to take care of them because he saw there was a problem and he spoke to them. He said something. The way that we saw that Hashem is with Yosef in the house of Potiphar is because Yosef constantly was talking about Hashem. He was in the house of an Egyptian officer, one of the top people in Egypt, and all the time he's simply saying, Bez Hashem, Im Yirtz Hashem, Bez Hashem, Im Yirtz Hashem. That's how he spoke. There are a lot of people, for some reason, they're embarrassed of their religiosity when they're in an audience that perhaps is not as appreciative at Judaism as they are. But if you learn to be comfortable with yourself, to talk properly, say, Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. I was on the phone with my banker earlier today. I phoned my banker. He asked me how I'm doing. Baruch Hashem. Oops, he's not Jewish. Okay, whatever. Baruch. That's how I talk. I say Baruch Hashem. A Yid talks like he recognizes that there's a Hashem in the world. He's there. You know he's there. I should fake it while the guy's around, or a non-Jewish audience, or an audience that doesn't seem to appreciate it. I should fake it. Yosef wasn't like that. Potiphar, not Potiphar, his father's house, he spoke the same way. He said, Be'ez Hashem, Im Yirtz Hashem, Gloib Tzagat. My grandmother used to say, Gloib Tzagat. Yeah, thank you, Hashem. That's how he spoke. He was comfortable with himself. But the power of speech finds its way into this parsha so much. The way a person talks. A Ben Torah. This week, somebody said something, not the best. So I said to him twice, in the span of about 3 minutes, I said to him, that's not how a Ben Torah talks. That's not how a Ben Torah talks. A Ben Torah speaks better than that. You know, in Jewish classification of science, there's such a thing, classification of science. We have, at the very least, 4 levels of creation. There's the basic things, rocks, immobile stuff, daimim. Then there's vegetation, seimeach. Then above that, there's chai, there's living creatures. And then there's humans. But the Torah doesn't call them humans. That isn't Torah. In the Sfarim, the disgusting, it doesn't say humans. It calls human beings a medaber, a speaker. Because the difference between us and everything else is how we talk, what words we use. Even when you get angry or you get frustrated, what are the words that you use? I remember myself, when I was 13 or 14 years old, I would never, chas v'shalom, ever say a bad word. That's not it. But I thought, when I get frustrated, maybe I should invent a bad word for myself. I'm going to invent a bad word. So I invented a word, and I tried to get into it. If I get angry, I'm going to use this word. A made-up word. I still remember exactly what the word was. A word. And after I used it like 3 or 4 times, I thought to myself, how dumb am I? I need a word to express my frustration. I need to have some invented bad word for myself to express my frustration. I don't know how to talk to people, how to express myself properly without having a word to be able to say it. I'm a Ben Torah, or at least I want to be a Ben Torah. A mensch, to develop myself. That's how a mensch talks, how a mensch speaks. Whether you're angry or happy, frustrated or sad, you're fed up, there's a way of speaking. A Ben Torah speaks in a certain way. I see somebody who's down. He's been put down most likely by somebody else's words. And I have an opportunity. We spoke about what Rashi says. The brothers were insulting the Bnei Bilhah and Bnei Zilpah, but Yosef, V'hu Mekarvan. He brought them close. He used properly nice words to speak to them. I want to be your friend. I'm here for you. I'm your buddy. Good morning. Good night. Have a wonderful day. I was walking with Dr. Engelberg that day. Do you know that when Dr. Engelberg walks, mamish to every single person on the street, he gives the biggest smile and he says good afternoon, good morning, good evening, engages with people. Hu mekarvon. A person can learn to embrace people because that's in the end what so many people need. Speak like a mensch. Be a Ben Torah. Like Yosef Ben Torah, didn't matter what the audience was. He spoke like a mensch. Be'ez Hashem, by our Shabbos tables, you should use your mouths for zmiros, for singing, for saying thank you to your mother and your father and for whoever makes the food, and have a wonderful Shabbos.